Hello everyone, I am Tatiana Olaru, and today we will continue speaking about people's appearances. In this lesson, we are going to read a text for comprehension, to find antonyms in the text, to talk about the possessive case, recognize the synthetical and analytical possessive cases, and to use these types in context. Okay, so we will begin with the first thing. We will read a text. But first of all, let me ask you if you have cousins that you haven't seen for a long time. And what is the first thing that you see or you do when you meet them? I guess you are very attentive at their body, at their head, face, and probably at their clothes and accessories. So like everybody else, Sandu does the same. You'll ask me, who is Sandu? Well, today you will meet Sandu, a young boy who meets his cousin and who... we will continue reading this text from the beginning. I will not tell you anymore. So, a visit to the country, this is the title of the text. Last summer, Sandu decided to spend his vacation at his cousin's, who lives in the north of Moldova. It was at the beginning of July when he left for the village of Sofia. The weather was fantastic and the surroundings were full of greenery. The beauty of the countryside impressed him very much. When meeting his cousin Lucia at the railway station, he was surprised by her change. It was 2 years ago when he saw her last. Instead of a short, clumsy child, now there was a different person in front of him, a tall, graceful young girl. He couldn't help noticing her big blue eyes with long, thick eyelashes and dark eyebrows. Most of all, he liked her long, wavy hair that shone in the sun. She was the sort of person who seemed to attract everybody, especially when she smiled. His aunt's house wasn't far from the station, so it didn't take them long to get there. When they approached the house, his aunt greeted him. Sandu was happy to see her. He stayed at his Aunt Maria's for 2 weeks. He had a good opportunity to learn a lot of things about life on the farm and make new friends. So, this is the story. How did you find it? Hope you liked the story and hope everything is clear. Let me check the comprehension of the text. I have some questions for you. So, the first question is, where did Sandu decide to spend his holiday? So, Sandu decided to spend his vacation at his cousin's who lives in the north of Moldova. What was the weather like? The weather was fantastic. When did Sandu see his cousin last? So, it was 2 years ago when he saw her last. Who met him at the station? His cousin Lucia. How long did he stay there? He stayed at his Aunt Maria's for 2 weeks. Why was he surprised when he saw his cousin? So the answer is very long. Instead of a short, clumsy child, now there was a different person in front of him, a tall, graceful young girl. And he couldn't help noticing her big blue eyes with long, thick eyelashes and dark eyebrows. So, does the girl's appearance in the picture correspond to the description in the text? There is no exact answer that this girl is the girl described in the text. As for me, this girl is quite pretty and corresponds to the description in the text. The girl seems to have big blue eyes, long, wavy hair that makes her look very attractive. This is the reason why Sandu looks so impressed. Sandu finds a different person in front of him, right? What I mean by a different person is that his cousin looks different because she has changed a lot. If you remember the text, it says that she was short and clumsy, now she is tall and graceful. In this sentence, there is a combination of opposites or antonyms. Let's try other combinations. She was a child, now she's a young girl. What about these combinations? I have prepared a set of combinations. These are antonyms that you will find in the text. These are the pairs that we will be focusing on, as in the examples from above. You can pause the video to do researches on your own. And if you are ready, these should be the answers. Winter, summer, ugly, graceful, first, last, thin, thick, thin, full, die, live, and beginning, short, long, dull, fantastic, light, dark, empty, full, and behind, in front, of. I have also mentioned at the beginning that we will discuss about the possessives. Firstly, you will see what possessive nouns are and why we use them, the two types of them, how you can use them, and at the end, you'll practice changing the possessive nouns from one type into another. So let's start with what exactly possessive nouns are and why we use them. So, a possessive is a word that shows possession or ownership. It shows that someone or something belongs to a person. A possessive has an apostrophe. How we form it? We add an apostrophe and the letter S when the noun is singular. Like in the example, Michael's book. It means that the book belongs to Michael. Or, like in this example, boy's sandwich. It means that the sandwich belongs to the boy. When the noun is plural and ends with an S, we add an apostrophe when it is in plural to make the plural possessive noun, like in this example, families, houses. Now that you know what possessive nouns are and why we use them, it's time to see those two types that I have mentioned at the beginning, the two types of possessives. So the first type is very common and you are very familiar with it. It is called the analytical possessive case. This type is correct to use because you can use the of phrase or the apostrophe and s correctly in most situations. This is how it looks, this type of possessive case. And let's see the first sentence. The face of my granny is wrinkled. So in the analytical possessive case, we use the of phrase. The forehead of my dad is high. The eyes of the girl dance and twinkle. So all the sentences contain the word of. It is called the of phrase. The second type is called synthetical possessive case, and it is the most common type. And in this type of possessive case, we add the apostrophe and the letter s in singular, and an apostrophe after the letter s in plural. Let's see the examples. My granny's face is wrinkled. My dad's forehead is high. The girl's eyes dance and twinkle. So these sentences are the same as in the first type, but in this case, we replace the "of" phrase with the apostrophe. Both types are correct, and you can use either the "of" phrase or the apostrophe and the letter "s" correctly in most situations. The apostrophe form will make you sound much more natural in English. Now that you are familiar with these two types of possessives, it's time to practice the grammar rule in context. In this part of the lesson, you'll have to change the analytical into synthetical possessive case. So, this is the first sentence for you. The hair of my mother is wavy and beautiful. This should be the answer in changing the analytical into synthetical. My mother's hair is wavy and beautiful. So the "of" phrase disappears, and instead we use the apostrophe and the letter "s". The next one, the nose of my father is long. How should be the answer? My father's nose is long. So we replace the "of" phrase with the apostrophe and the letter "s". The eyes of the boy change color with his moods. And the answer is the boy's eyes change color with his moods. Again, the "of" phrase disappears and is replaced with the apostrophe and the letter "s". The last sentence, the eyelashes of my sister are thick. That changes into my sister's eyelashes are thick. The eyebrows of my uncle are bushy. My uncle's eyebrows are bushy. The "of" phrase disappears, and instead we have the apostrophe and the letter "s". The nose of my friend is straight. My friend's nose is straight. The hair of my brother looks wild and curly. My brother's hair looks wild and curly. The last sentence is, the face of the woman was intelligent and kind. The woman's face was intelligent and kind. So, keep in mind, remember that when changing from analytical to synthetical possessive case, we replace the "of" phrase with the apostrophe and the letter "s" in singular. So you can practice doing such exercises or sentences together with your classmates whenever you have time. So now it's time to round up. So what have you learned today? So we have learned to read a text for comprehension. We have found antonyms in the text. We have talked about the possessive case. We have managed to recognize the synthetical and analytical possessive cases, and we have used these two types in context. If you found this lesson useful and helpful to you, I would be happy to see you next lesson, where we will be focusing on feet and legs idioms for sounding like a native English speaker. See you next time.